Psalms 131, 135 through 139, and 143 through 145. I'd like to use this video to talk about the Holy Spirit. There are two passages or two verses from our reading today that mention him. Where can I go from your spirit, or where can I flee from your presence? It's 139:7. Teach me to do your will, for you are my God. May your gracious spirit lead me into a level place. That's 143:10. I'd also like to answer a question posed by a listener, which was this. I thought that the Holy Spirit was a gift given during Pentecost. That would be Acts 2 in the New Testament. So how could David have been writing about the Holy Spirit in the Psalms? And the verse she referenced was Psalm 51:11. Do not cast me away from your presence, and do not take your Holy Spirit from me. So let's talk about the Spirit, the Holy Spirit. Actually, the phrase Holy Spirit is very rare in the Old Testament. It usually is just Spirit or the Spirit of God. This is a very easy conversation, by the way, to think right to left, to take New Testament ideas, especially post-biblical ideas, creeds and confessions, and import them back into the Old Testament. So let's do our best instead just to think left to right and what David would have known. Well, the word is in Hebrew ruach, and it's used 113 times for the wind, very physical sense, wind or breath. 129 times the word ruach is used of a human ruach, or a human spirit. And 136 times we have it used of God. Or really, we have it used of above the dotted line. In other words, the spiritual realm versus the physical realm. So, 400 times about the word ruach is used, about a third each. And the way the meaning is developed of ruach is basically looking at how it's used. Again, it can be a very physical thing. It's elusive, it's mysterious, it's invisible, but it's a power, it's an energy, it's a presence to be sure. And that seems to be how it's used of the human spirit. It's something that keeps my flesh alive. It's something I know is there and I feel it, but I can't see it. And basically what happens is ruach is used as a very normal, non-religious, secular word, and it's applied to God. After all, if I have a spirit, the biblical writer presumed, then God had a spirit. Okay? So in that sense, Judaism, even today, agrees with Christianity, traditional Christianity, that God's spirit would be, well, think in terms of his power, think in terms of his presence. In fact, remember how the verses sounded today. Where can I go from your spirit, or where can I flee from your presence? They're used parallel. Do not cast me away from your presence. Do not take your spirit from me. That's reference to the question we had. What did David mean, don't take your Holy Spirit from me? Would simply be, in David's understanding, don't take that presence that I experience of you away from me. It would be how I experience God, his presence to me. In fact, you may have heard of the term Shekinah. Shekinah is a Hebrew term which just means divine presence, and we'll see that word used in the Torah quite a bit. I was going to say that Judaism, even today, in rabbinical thought, likes to personify, and let's remember what a personification is. A personification is when you put physical attributes to something that's not physical. And a dove, in Jewish rabbinical thought, traditional Judaism, thinks of the Spirit of God, the Spirit of Yahweh, as to be personified by a dove. In other words, I can see it, I can experience his presence in a personified, but remember, we're talking poetic, in a poetic way. In this sense, the Spirit has a small s, because in our reading, in fact, today, in my reading, I'm reading from the Jewish Bible, it has a small s each time, because again, if I have a small s on my spirit, God's Spirit would too. So that's how it seems that David would have understood God's Spirit. He's holy, he is a spirit, and so his presence, his Holy Spirit, would be that which I experience. All right, now what happens, just briefly as we close, what happens over time, and again, this is a post-biblical discussion, basically, and that's what we'll see. When we get to English again, where there are now, for the first time, capital letters, what the Christian tradition will do is put a capital S on the word Spirit, because it will pull from this idea here, where God's Spirit is his presence. It pulls the idea apart and actually creates or gives the idea that this is a separate person. So check the difference between personify and person. In Jewish thinking, this is a poetic personification of God's presence. In Christian tradition, this is an actual person of God.